All right. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's forum on minority youth, inequities, and justice. My name is Lauren Williams. I'm Adult and Community Services Manager at the Columbia Public Library, which is part of the Daniel Boone Regional Library System. We are very glad to be co-hosting this forum tonight. A little bit of Zoom housekeeping before we begin. If you have questions for our speakers, we're going to have a Q&A after we've heard from all of our speakers. We ask that you use the Zoom chat feature. So if you hover at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat icon that looks like a speech bubble. So just click there and type your questions. And if you're on a tablet or a smartphone, you may need to tap in the middle of your screen to see that chat and other tools come up. So in part one of our forum on inequities and justice, we framed this issue in mid-Missouri, defining the school to prison pipeline. And this pipeline refers to a path from the education system to the juvenile or adult criminal justice system that disproportionately affects students of color. Over the past 2 decades, this path has grown significantly with the approach to discipline in US schools having changed with zero tolerance policies and the Safe Schools Act, among other factors. At that forum, we learned about how school discipline and the justice system are related and what the inequities are in the system, particularly around race, and how they affect young lives in the community. Black students in Missouri's public school system are 5 times more likely than their white peers to receive an out-of-school suspension, according to a 2018 report by the ACLU of Missouri. And another report by the Sentencing Project in 2015 found Black youth in Missouri were almost 5 times more likely to be detained and committed than white youth. We heard some good information from Renita Norwood, supervisor of student services, about Columbia Public Schools and the training that they have started to provide staff around things like implicit bias, their focus on restorative justice, separating the deed from the doer, and working to reintegrate youth into the school and wider community. We also heard from Sarah Johnson, Juvenile Court Public Defender, and Ruth McCluskey, Chief Juvenile Officer of the 13th Judicial Circuit. And we learned about the 2018 Juvenile Justice Reform Act, which requires states to identify and reduce racial and ethnic disparities. Asia Smith, a student at Battle High School, shared her perspective on the anxious relationship between minority students and some school staff, resource officers, and the police in general. Tonight, we are here to talk about further ideas for solutions to this very complex issue and how we can collectively take action. As Steve Calloway from the Minority Men's Network so eloquently put it during the last panel, this issue is part of a web of greater issues, including segregated housing and lack of affordable housing, wealth and economic disparities and health disparities. There is racism in our systems. So this isn't a problem that can be fixed by just a few people or just the schools or just the justice system. We have to address the biases that are not only in ourselves, but in our systems and rules and laws. And we need to work together as a community to create opportunities to support our young people in trauma-informed ways. So tonight, we are going to meet some of the people and organizations that are doing this work to fight disparities, to eliminate the school to prison pipeline. Organizations working to make our schools and communities places of safety and uplift, to provide resources and opportunities to youth and their family. And we'll learn about ways we can get involved with these organizations to take action and to be part of the solutions to this very complex issue. So I'd like to welcome tonight's panelists. We have with us this evening Joanne Nelson, the Director of Boone County Community Services, and DeAndre Thompson, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Program Specialist for Boone County Community Services. We have student representatives from CORE Columbia, an organization that holistically serves male student athletes. We have Ricky, Trey, and Elijah, and they'll be talking to us in a bit. And they're being assisted by Jared Finstermacher. He's the director of Battle High School for CORE Columbia. And finally, we have Verna LeBoy, who wears many hats in our community, but tonight she is representing FACE as a board member, and that's Family Access Center of Excellence, and she is founder and board member of Worley Street Roundtable. And after our panelists have spoken, like I said, we'll have about 25 minutes for Q&A. So I want to begin this evening with Joanne Nelson and DeAndre Thompson.
Thank you. We're so excited to be here today, and we appreciate everybody showing up. Lauren's going to start our PowerPoint for us, and I'm just going to kick off this presentation tonight by kind of going over. We did our Voices for Collective Impact, honoring the youth perspective. So like I said, my name's Joanne Nelson, and I have DeAndre Thompson with me as well. Next slide. Um, this study was a group, was funded through the Boone County Children's Services Board, and it was put together back in the January of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And what happened is there was it the the community services department put together held 6 focus groups with consistently funded trainers that that were standardized for all of these focus groups. Youth were asked 4 questions to gain a better understanding and perspective from youth in Boone County. And those 4 questions included: what is going well for youth in Boone County? What is not going well for youth in Boone County? What is what is the most important issues facing youth in Boone County? And lastly, what should the community do about these issues? Youth shared common concerns throughout these themes to help with the community to help the community understand their perspective. While we do not have ample time here during the presentation to go over each one of these themes, I would encourage you, everyone, to review this perspective that's located on our website, theshowmeboone.com. And you'll be able to get a better understanding of what the youth shared with us during these focus groups. So you can see that there was 65 youth participants who lived and attended programming in and around Missouri, and they reflected a diverse population of youth. And here are the major themes that came out of those focus groups: the educational system, mental health, violence, identity-based experiences, common level issues, and concrete solutions. So tonight, we're just going to go over concrete solutions. Next slide. The first thing we're going to discuss is youth activities. Youth identified during these focus groups the importance of mentorship for themselves and their peers. They express wanting support from someone who's had similar experiences. Youth expressed a desire for youth centers, a safe place where they can see their friends and avoid violence in the neighborhoods. One youth said, "I live in the East Side and there's not normally stuff for the kids on the East Side to do. I mean, there's the Ark, but that's like far away from them. And then having a safe center for them to go in, participating, playing games and stuff because it's cold now, and that's going to play going to play basketball. I feel like there should be a safe center in that area." So that was a direct quote from a youth. Communication. Youth wanted to be involved in making decisions within their schools and communities. They wanted more intentional conversations about the community in which they lived. They wanted to have more conversations about the violence and mental health. One youth said, "I feel like whenever something traumatic happens and you don't talk about it or don't express it, then you're not really acknowledging that it happened." So basically, adults don't like to talk about that stuff because they feel like if they do, then it becomes real. But it is real. And people are actually going through it. And just because you're not, it doesn't mean that it's not real. Again, that was another direct quote from one of the participants in the focus group. From this theme, youth identified the need to expand mentorship programs, opportunities for older youth. You want opportunities to engage with adults and have relationships with their peer mentors. Some participants discuss wanting to be involved in a mentor for elementary age students. Giving youth the opportunity to create positive relationship through mentorships can help prevent community violence. Youth also identified the need to create youth centers, like I discussed earlier. Youth want a safe place to be with their friends, access to programming, and support from positive influences. They desire accessible youth centers within their communities. Youth residing in rural communities frequently discussed needing spaces for older youths to hang out. From this report, we put together a list of recommendations. And so the next slide, Lauren. These recommendations included programmatic recommendations, policy recommendations, and community planning recommendations. Programmatic recommendations included expanding training for all school personnel in diversity, inclusion, and equity issues, expanding training for educators around mental health, expand workforce development program for youth to participate in trade jobs. Policy recommendations included investing in community-based interventions to interrupt and prevent violence within the community, promote equity initiatives which could erase disparities among groups within Boone County, identify and implement local gun control initiatives within Boone County, and expand community policing. So community planning recommendations include prioritizing the contributions of youth in the community planning process. The youth voice is the most important voice that we can hear. And lastly, increase accessibility for youth to engage in planning events. And like I said, this whole report can be found on the Boone County Community Services website, which is found on the Show Me Boone website.
All right, thanks, Joanne. Yes, my name is DeAndre Thompson. I'm the Program Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Specialist with Boone County Community Services Department. And so it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Happy Black History Month to you all as well, since we are in the month of February. So yes, Joanne has highlighted a lot of the information from our Voices for Collective Impact study group that has gone out and it's made available for you all to be able to view. But we wanted to give more information on how you could get involved, either through volunteerism, or if you wanted to just be able to drop off items or different things to some of these community organization groups that are present here in Columbia. So on the slide, as you can see here, there are many ways that you can get involved through volunteerism through our Columbia community. Through the Children's Services Fund, we have highlighted several organizations that work directly with the underserved populations to offer assistance where it's most needed. So here's a few that are listed: the Boys and Girls Club of Columbia. We have Moving Ahead program through Columbia Housing Authority for low-income services. We have Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Missouri, and we have Presbyterian Children's Home and Services. So there's just a few, and we have several more that we have available for you all to look through. There's going to be a listing at the end of our presentation that will give you more information on some of the community organizations that you can all work with or go through. Next slide, please. So as we transition here, we actually have a special treat for you, if you will. We have one of the organizations that we actually fund through the Children's Services Fund available here with us as well. But we want to give a little bit more information on that particular group. They're called Core Columbia. They are a youth-led group here locally with one of the high schools. Battle High School is one of the primary focuses that initiates and heads up this particular organization. So Core Columbia was established back in 2013 and has taken responsibility of holistically serving male student athletes and working to transform their futures by providing access to opportunities and resources needed to succeed. So I know someone asked in the comment section, what did CORE mean? And so we had some information here listed. CORE is Latin for heart and the root of the English word courage. And that comes directly from the Core Columbia website. And so I'm sure there's going to be more information that will be present that you all can be able to look through to be able to get more information on that. So there's 4 areas of emphasis that CORE primarily focuses on. That's academics, athletics, experiences, and relationships. So within each of these 4 core areas, there's more that you can dig into and see that each of these core areas offers directly to these student athletes. And so with academics, there's areas that encompass academic coaching, tutoring, school partnerships that extend beyond the classroom, and then learning environments. And then with athletics, they have NCAA eligibility. So they help some of the student athletes make sure that they're qualified and eligible to head into the college athletic arena. They have recruiting processes, so working with the students to ensure that they have the particular recruiting mechanisms necessary. They have athletic partnerships as well. So they have ways to support the students in terms of ensuring that they have what they need to be qualified and eligible to head into, again, the athletic arena. And then with experiences, they help with serving others in the community. So the youth come together and work with their local coaches to help serve people in the community. They have community partnerships, and they go on a few activities, or they do a few activities. So they go different places. I'm sure there's different experiences that they can probably highlight for you to give you more information on their own personal experiences. And then lastly, they have relationships. So there's accompaniment and brotherhood. And so all this information is available through the Core Columbia website. I'm sure it's either going to be placed in the chat or mentioned by one of the Core Columbia staff. But this is, again, just one of the organizations that the Children's Services Fund directly works with. And so we wanted to be sure to highlight some of this information for you. So as we transition now over to Core Columbia, I'll turn it back over to Lauren to prepare us for that segment.
All right, thank you so much, DeAndre and Joanne. We appreciate that. So as DeAndre said, we have 3 young men with us this evening who are core participants. We have Trey, Ricky, and Elijah. And I've got some questions for you all. So I will stop sharing this so that we can see your faces. Okay. All right, so I will start with Trey, if that's okay. My first question is, how has your experience with CORE helped your development as a young individual in the Columbia community?
Really, they just taught me how to just be involved and get involved and work with other people. And this, it just helped me, I don't know, build relationships with other people and start from zero, learn how to start from zero with somebody and build up. And so, yeah, I think that's helping the community because I just build relationships with people. And I think that's what's important is relationships.
Thank you. Ricky, do you have something to add? How's your experience with CORE helped your development in the community?
My experience with CORE, I think that it really helped me, helped me with getting my voice out there, things that I want to do, things I want to help out in the community. They help me with.
Thank you. And Elijah, same question for you.
I think it's helped me grow by just letting people in and opening up, and yeah, I think it helps me just open up and talk to people, communicate better. So yeah.
Thank you. So I know that relationships with mentors are very important as part of this program. So what specifically about your relationship with your core mentors has been the most enjoyable for you? And we'll go back to Trey.
Just the camps, you guys were talking about it in the beginning, how we go on trips, and on the trips we just have so much fun. We get to build our relationship with our mentors, and knowing that they only want good for us is that's just, I don't know, that's just kind of what we need. And they want good for us in school and out of school as well. So that's just the bonus on top of the relationship that we have with them. It just makes us closer.
And Ricky, how about you? What specifically about your relationship with your core mentors has been the most meaningful or enjoyable?
Yeah, so our core mentors, they really push us to do better every single day and be productive. So since right now, since we're in a COVID quarantine type stuff, they text us almost every single day, letting us know that what's up that we're missing, what's up that we should be doing. And then, yeah.
Yeah, COVID makes everything more difficult. So I'm glad they're still finding ways to reach out. Elijah, how about you?
So I enjoy the relationships with my mentors because I feel like it's more than school. Like they actually care and they check in on us, like Ricky said. They talk to us, all that, and it's not. Of course, they push us to do our best, but it's like they check in with us other stuff too, like not just school, but all that. They just make sure we're doing okay at home and all that, and that's what I like.
So my next question for you is, how do you think that programs like CORE can help people your age avoid potential trouble in other communities?
Core helps. I can speak for me and like a couple of my friends. Like it just gives us somewhere safe to be, and like it's just an open environment that you want to be at, and like just the brotherhood here is strong. So like you want to be with the people here, and like so it's yeah, you just come here and like it's just a safe environment. It's a bond.
Ricky, how about you?
The way how CORE helped me, I think that I feel like the way how CORE helps us is that if like, hold on, like, can you please redo the question, please?
Sure. So how do you think programs like CORE can help people your age avoid potential trouble in other communities if other communities were looking at a program like this?
Okay, so since we have a lot of free time because of COVID, there's a lot of stuff that we could be doing than doing schoolwork and a bunch of other stuff. So really CORE keeps us productive and keep us on the right track.
And Elijah, how do you think programs like CORE can help other people your age?
So I think CORE can help other people our age by, like I said, just giving us something to do instead of just being out running around, because all that causes us trouble. And they make sure we get our work done. I just feel like that's something that a lot of kids need, somebody to push them, and then something to keep them busy during the day. And yeah.
All right, my last question. What is one thing you've learned while participating in the CORE program that you believe others would also find valuable?
One thing that I've learned is just like there are people that want to see you succeed and want to see the good come out of you. And like here at CORE, like with my mentors and the people that I work with, they just want to see the best for me, and like they keep me going and they just always keep me motivated. And you know, I don't know, it's just a different type of motivation. Like just because our relationship is so strong, on top of that, they want us to do better. So like that helps us do better, and like helps me stay on top of it, because I know that they wouldn't want me to just give up, and like I know they got my back through whatever.
All right, Ricky, same question for you. What's one thing you've learned while participating in the CORE program that you think others would find valuable?
I think Trey took the plate. That was everything I was going to say.
Okay, Elijah, how about you?
All right, so I think kids should know that it's not only about like bonding and all that, but it's not only about like doing schoolwork. It's like balanced out. It's equal. Like you do your schoolwork and then you have fun and build bonds, and yeah, it's just more to it than just learning or just having fun.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all answering these questions and sharing the vision and the mission and the accomplishments of CORE Columbia. It's not an organization that I was familiar with, so we really appreciate that. And stick around. I think we'll have some questions from our audience for you in a little bit. Next, I'd like to introduce Verna LeBoy. Like I said, she does so many things, but tonight she is with us as a board member of Family Access Center of Excellence and founder and board member of Worley Street Roundtable. So Verna, take it away.
I'm so impressed and blown away by these young men, first of all, who articulated so well. I just have to go there first. I'm a mother, a grandmother of 21, soon to be 22 grandchildren. This is my beloved community. I am passionate about families, especially people of color, thriving and doing well in this community. I work in public health as my it's my main job, okay? But because of all the children that I've raised 5 through Columbia Public School System, and we had issues back then, and we had Sunday dinner around the dining room table, and the conversation was about, how my grandsons were always in trouble. And I'm like, I'm seeing a pattern here that we haven't mastered yet. So I called 50 of my closest friends over for Sunday dinner at my house on Worley Street. And they were expressing some of the same issues. So thus, Worley Street Roundtable was birthed. And we've been in existence probably about 7 or 8 years. I invited Daphne Bibbs, who's down here, and she's the vice chair of the board for Worley Street Roundtable, and a school teacher in Columbia Public Schools. And she's also one of the co-directors of our Teachers of Color Support Network. So I hear you, young men, and I'm so proud of you and what you're doing today. And it's because of you that I keep showing up when I want to sit down. And Worley Street Roundtable is full of caring people that want to see young people thrive in our community. And one of our efforts that was really exciting is that we were able to help Columbia Public Schools revive their mentoring program for promising teachers of, it used to be called edX, but it's called something else, for young people that want to be educators. They have an opportunity to get a full ride scholarship, 4-year scholarship, if they want to become educators, and guaranteed a job in the school system if they graduate and get their certifications. So we have Worley Street Roundtable and the Teachers of Color Support Network to support those educators of color in our school system. It's community support that supports the teachers of color inside the system. So I'm really excited about that. Now, FACE, Family Access Center for Excellence, is used to be the best kept secret in town, but I think we're getting the word out. A lot of times young people of color, if they're having a bad day and have a little meltdown in the classroom, they find themselves handcuffed and with a juvenile officer. That's not okay, because sometimes we watch white children have the same kind of meltdowns, and Johnny's just having a rough time. He gets in timeout. So, Family Access Center for Excellence, the reason I sit on the board is because I want to help law enforcement get it, okay? Stop taking our young people to the juvie office when it's a mental health breakdown and they need support. You don't know what happened in the family last night. There's all kinds of barriers when we're dealing with multiple issues. So I sit on the board to try to be the rudder in the ship that kind of helps law enforcement turn that big old thing and have a different mindset when it comes to disciplining our young people. So I'm going to stop there, and maybe during Q&A, Daphne will help me with any questions directed toward Worley Street Roundtable. It's an honor and a privilege to be in the room with you all tonight. I want to say that one person can make a difference. And I think what I want to emphasize here is we initiated Worley Street Roundtable, a gift to our beloved community from my front yard, basically. Started around my dining room table. We had weekly Sunday dinner meetings. Yes, weekly. I cooked and fed the community. Many school board members have eaten at my table, including Mr. Steepleman, but they didn't come empty-handed. So what I'm saying is, when there's an issue in the community, you can sit around and talk about it, or you can do something about it. You know, you don't have to play small here. And that's what I want you young people to understand. People of like minds will get with you if you come the right way. Now, I could have just beat up Columbia Public Schools because they know they got issues, but they need us to help them. If you have a mind and a heart to get in there and lock arms with them instead of beating them up and criticizing them, I mean, who wants to listen to somebody that's beating you up all day long? I don't want to hear it. If all you're going to do is come to me and tell me everything I'm doing wrong, guess what? I ain't answering your phone call. Go to voicemail. But when you come to me with solutions, Verna, I can help you with this. So we said, Columbia Public School Board, we believe we can help you with this. So we're walking with them. And that, you know, edX program, or that teacher of color, growing our own brown teacher stock program, is powerful. So I'd like to see that across the board. I'd like to see that with law enforcement, with firefighters, with, you know, city administrators, taking young people and giving them opportunities to walk alongside them, get an education, and that expose that career with them, get them an education paid for, so that we can really make a difference. Columbia Public Schools did it. I think the city of Columbia and other businesses in our community could do the same thing. I'm done.
Thank you so much for that, Verna. I really, really appreciate it. All right, so I feel like we've thrown out a lot of information. I appreciate everyone sharing their experiences with these organizations firsthand and otherwise. And so now we have some opportunity for questions from our audience. During our Q&A, we're going to be sharing a list of area agencies and volunteer opportunities, and it's just a sampling of the agencies serving youth and families in Boone County. And it will repeat if you want to view a slide again, but also we will send this out via email to our attendees. And just note that the volunteer opportunities or support, they don't reflect current modifications due to COVID. So we encourage you to contact these agencies for current volunteer opportunities. So we have some questions from the chat. They did want to say, oh, Verna, go ahead.
I forgot to mention that this Sunday at 4 o'clock, once a month, Worley Street Roundtable has community forums. And we have a Facebook page, Worley Street Roundtable. So you can get the link there to jump on at 4 o'clock this Sunday. These community monthly gatherings, we used to sit around a table and eat food, but we ain't doing that this time. So until we can do it, we meet virtually, just like we are tonight. We get the job done. 4 o'clock Sunday, jump on and be a part of the community conversation. Thank you.
And Verna, if you have a link for that, you're welcome to drop it in the chat for attendees, but we could also email that out as well.
Can you do that, Daphne? Thank you.
All right, excellent. Okay. All right. So questions from the chat. We did have several questions that came in from the chat about CORE. And so just some clarification questions. First of all, people were very excited that you were here and very impressed with all of you. Someone also said that CORE provides great support to parents of the youth involved in the program. And Jared, who's here, has provided great support to this particular person in particular. So thank you. People want to know, does each young man have a single mentor, or does each young man develop a mentor relationship with more than one person?
Can I unmute myself? Is that
sure? Go right ahead.
I didn't want to break the rules. Well, I'll say for sure. It's funny, just to go with the mentor term, is that when we were reading through some of these questions with the guys so they were aware, they were kind of like, mentor, like, what are you talking about, mentor? So we kind of had to explain, like, because even to them, the relationship that we have is just, it's like, I'm Jared, I don't really know what they tell their friends, who I am. But it's for sure, there's not like we aren't assigned a kid, or a guy is not assigned one person. It's kind of like there's staff members for each school. So there's myself and then two other people kind of run the battle side of CORE, or the battle students. And then we have Hickman staff as well as Rockbridge staff. And that's staff fully employed from CORE that work with the students from those schools. But no, when they're at the building, or when we're taking them places or doing whatever with them, it's the staff that works with those students. And we have some volunteers who kind of want to give a little more than just tutoring or bringing food by. So there are some times where we'll have something called an academic coach. And that's, so for instance, if I was an academic coach, I might be working with Ricky specifically. So if I show up to CORE for my night to volunteer, I'm going to find Ricky. I'm going to have Ricky's number. I'm going to be texting him throughout the day. Hey, good luck on your test, stuff like that. And then I'm also going to be working with him when I'm at the building. So I might go to Ricky's football games, or Ricky's wrestling matches, or his track meets, or whatever, and support him outside of just helping him with his geometry homework, if that makes sense. So we've got a lot of guys in and out of the building. We've got the staff that are working directly with them in a mentorship role. And then there are some volunteers and tutors who just develop those a little bit tighter relationships with specific CORE guys. But to answer the question, no, there's not one strict assignment of a mentor to an athlete.
Another question for you, Jared, just to clarify, do young men have to be students and athletes to participate in CORE? And does it matter what sport? And are the mentors coaches, or are they teachers, or just a variety of different people?
That's a great question. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of confusion, because we say that we support holistic support to male student athletes in Columbia. So to answer the question quickly, yes. We are also aware that there's a need for a support for women athletes as well. And that's also something that is kind of being cooked up, but it would look a lot different than it does now for males at CORE. But to answer the question for, you said, do they, what did you just say? I'm sorry, I started talking and I lost track.
If it was any sport at all, and if the mentors are coaches.
Yeah, so one reason why we work with athletes is because if the history and the story of how CORE was started, there are a lot of resources in the community, I think, for students and student athletes. And for us, the students that we had been working with kind of before CORE even started, we recognized that they lacked a lot of resources to gain those resources. So we kind of stepped in and said, okay, well, this group of guys is kind of our slice of the pie of who we want to really support and help with. And a lot of the things they lacked were consistency and transportation. And so we kind of stepped in and said, how do we provide consistency and transportation to these guys and these families kind of across the board? And so the two or three guys that we initially started with were athletes, and we recognized, okay, these kids are great athletes. They're great kids. They've got a lot of stuff going on, and their grades are pretty rough. And so because those ACT scores and those academic performances, if you will, can really hinder a kid from getting where they want to be in life, and that's post-college too, not just those 4 years in school, how then do we come alongside them? And as DeAndre mentioned in our our website, accompany them. Accompaniment is key. How do we accompany them through this process? And so student athletes, yes, they don't have to play a specific sport. For us, it's kind of the majority of our guys all play football because football is such a large group sport. There's so many guys on the team. But we have guys that play basketball, football, track, soccer. One of them plays baseball. But the majority of our guys do all play football, but it does not have to be a specific sport, no. And sorry, to answer that question about mentors and coaches. So I coach football and track out at Battle High School. Travis Craig, one of our co-founders and one of my coworkers, he works with Rockbridge students, and Sam Hickman, he coaches football at Rockbridge, and he coached wrestling, I think, for 10 or 12 years at Rockbridge. And then we've got Alex Ofadale, who is another staff member with Hickman. He's actually a former core guy who came to core, graduated, went to school, got a double master's, and now he's back working with us, which is really, really cool for us to have that first full circle moment. So he's also on staff with us, and he's coaching at Hickman currently.
That's awesome. What a great success story. We have a question for the young men. So Trey, Ricky, Elijah, this person wants to know what you think we need for Columbia area youth. If there's one thing that you would recommend that we need more of, or something different for Columbia youth, what would that be?
I would say just somewhere to go, like, cause like in the beginning of this, I think it was Dorothy, she was talking about, one of the youth was talking about they live on the east and like there's nowhere to go. I feel like just having more environments to go, like open environments to just hang and I don't know, just be with other people and just have something to do. I think that would help the community a lot.
Ricky or Elijah, did you have something else you wanted to add? Don't be shy. Okay.
So I just wanted to say, yeah, Trey, he really just said what I was gonna say, but I just think we need more places to just go and hang, just chill, and maybe like just somewhere to just sit down and talk to your friends, because we don't have a lot of places like that on like the Battle side of town and all that.
Thank you. So we also have a question for Verna. Could you just talk a little more specifically about what FACE does? I know FACE has a lot of different services it provides.
Mental health services for children, I think school age to about 18 or 19 years of age. And so if you have a child in your home that's eligible, then the whole family can receive the benefit of mental health services. And they even take walk-in services. The whole goal is when young people are struggling in the classroom, instead of being carted off to the juvenile office and get a case, then they're referred to FACE for mental health support. Because the majority of the time, that's what's going on. Kids are stressed out and they just, they don't have a safe way. They need to learn a safe way to express that discomfort so they don't get in trouble. And if we could utilize those services, families can even refer themselves. And right now, in the face of COVID, they can receive several appointments of counseling for free. So, mental health, our mental health is very important. And in this period of isolation, I feel for the young people and for these young men. If it wasn't for athletics and core keeping them focused on the big picture, because so many of our young people step off and make a mistake today that can affect their future, going forward. And I really appreciate the way they're preparing for scholarships, preparing themselves for college, preparing themselves for after high school, because their athletic ability can finance their future. So, but the same way with those that want to be teachers, you know, I would love to see that opportunity for those that want to be counselors, for those that want to be, I mean, we're spending money imprisoning and incarcerating young people. That school to prison pipeline is real, okay? So to take advantage of programs like FACE, families, moms, dads, aunt, uncle, grandma, it's okay to come outside the family and get help. Mental health is not taboo like it used to be. What goes on in this family stays in this family. Don't be telling my business. No, children are hurting because we ain't telling the business. Children need an outlet, they need support, and FACE offers that in our community. And for a lot of us, it's free of charge. If you want to know more, give FACE a call, Family Access Center for Excellence. And guess what? Their counselors and their staff are diverse. They got every color of the rainbow there. You can find yourself at FACE.
Thank you, Verna. Another question based on what Verna said about how kids of color are often treated differently for the same conduct as white children. Could Joanne Nelson speak to the program on implicit bias that the Community Services Department sponsored a couple of years ago?
Yeah, we had a speaker come in, and it's been a long time, and he specifically talked about how each of one of us brings bias into anything that we do, whether we want to believe it or not. And the speaker spoke directly about children getting kicked out of childcare centers at a Black child was kicked out at a higher rate than any other child. And I think that just talks about the institutional thing that Verna was just talking about. It happens whether it's in a preschool setting or a regular setting. And so we at the department are taking a look at using a better equity lens when we fund programs and setting up goals in the community that is more equity focused. And I think that's what, Commissioner Thompson was, kind of getting at, and what our goals are as a community and what we expect of any organizations that are funded through the Children's Services Fund.
So the second part of that question is what is being done in our community to address implicit bias? And I'm going to take off my moderator hat and put on my Journey Toward Inclusive Excellence hat and wave at Verna and DeAndre. So I'm going to put that in the chat. This is sponsored by the Inclusive Impact Institute, and it is a series of experiences that are designed for individuals to learn about their biases. And Nikki Magruder, taught me well that if you have a brain, you have a bias. And so these are experiences that help you learn about your biases, and then strategies for overcoming those biases. So I encourage everybody to check that out. There's a group of people with the city, with the area colleges are represented, the library, and other folks are helping organize or call attention to other events in the community that are helping people learn about and address implicit bias. That's just one of the things happening in the community. Other panelists, are there other things that you'd like to mention that are being done to help with implicit bias and address implicit bias in our community?
I do think we should mention that Heart of Missouri United Way will be having some equity work that they're going to be talking about in the community, and they're doing a lot of focus work as well.
The league just had a lunch and learn on the United Way's Equity Challenge. Is that the program that you're talking about?
I think they're also going to be doing some other stuff as well.
Correct.
And that should be coming out. They discussed it during their board meeting today.
And also to put emphasis on the passport, I know Ms. Burner is familiar with this as well, with the Journey Towards Inclusive Excellence, it helps to go ahead and check out that passport, because then you'll be able to get those timelines of when events will be coming up. And that way you can stay engaged throughout the process. There's several different events that go on, and they're all right now virtual due to the pandemic. But outside of this setting, we have had, in-person events, and that has helped a lot with managing a lot of these circumstances around bias. And then also take the implicit bias assessment. That'll give you a good framework of where to start to be able to manage and understand where a lot of those biases come from.
I just don't want people to allow this isolation period during this pandemic to use it as an opportunity to do nothing, but yet get on the phone with all your friends and with your family and criticize everybody and everything about everything. So when you can use that energy, you have so much talent, so many gifts that are untapped. Look at these young people. They need mentors. Since you're so smart and you know everything, deposit it into some of these young people. Don't just sit around and criticize. You're such a genius. You got all the answers. Share it with these young people. Share your time. What are you afraid of?
Preach, Verna. So here's a message to the youth from our League of Women Voters. That youth 16 to 24-year-olds who are students can have a free membership in the League of Women Voters, and they stand ready to support youth initiatives that help people learn about voting and issues, and we can make a lot of impact with our voice and our vote. So did want to mention that. Also, we have a comment about FACE, that they not only provide mental health services, but it can also address barriers to services like basic needs, housing, food, and that sort of thing. So yes, please check out their website, which we've put in the chat. Okay. So I think we had another question for our CORE folks. We want to know how many young men are involved in CORE, and if there are, well, I guess I'll leave it there. So how many young men are involved in CORE?
I would say, gosh, I really honestly don't have a specific number. I would say in the arena of 45 to 50 guys, I would say. And on an average night, even with COVID, numbers have fallen off here and there, but I would say on average every night that we're here, we probably have around 35 to 40 guys spread out amongst our space, our building that we're in.
So talk about your building, because I don't think I was aware that there is an actual meeting space that you can be in.
So I also just saw a question pop up from Marilyn. Is it only at Battle? It's at Rockridge and Hickman as well. So we're actually at all three high schools now. And your question was kind of what is the setup essentially? So we've got, we're located on Santana Circle. It's off of Southampton on the south side of town, kind of across Southampton from Rockridge High School, Twaddle Orthodontics. There's an insurance group right there, kind of by MU ParentLink, actually. It's the same building, if you know. But it's just kind of like three separate little townhomes that are connected on the outside. We've renovated the inside. It's set up like a house, like a home, because that's kind of what it is for most of our guys. It's almost a second home because they spend a lot of time here outside of their own house. And so, yeah, it's kind of like we say the Rockridge side or the Hickman side or the Battle side, but that's essentially just the space where those guys are at. So while we either are eating dinner or, like playing Xbox, playing PlayStation, whatever, before we start homework, they're all kind of mixing and mingling together. And then whenever we start doing our homework after dinner and volunteers and tutors will show up, we typically spread back out to our own space, because most Battle students aren't doing the same work that a Rockridge students is going to be doing. So yeah, that's the setup is it's, you ask any of these guys that are on here, they'd probably tell you the same thing. It's like a second home. It's set up like a house. Some of our guys who have gone on to play college ball or just have gone on to college in general, if they've ever had home visits from coaches or recruiters, typically they'll have them here. They'll just say, meet me at core. And so then of course the guy's like, well, what's core? So then the kid doesn't really know how to explain it, because he's like, I don't know, it's just core. It's, you know, where I go, it's my family. So the mom or dad or auntie or someone will come up here and we'll sit down with them and we'll do the house meeting, the home visit at core, and meet with them here.
Thank you for that.
Was that the rest of that? Was that the end of that question? I forgot it. Yeah.
I think so. So someone has just more of a comment. So many organizations listed here indicates that Columbia has many youth inequities that most people are unaware of, and our newspapers could do a feature article on each one. And I also, know of a lot of these organizations, but not about some of them. And it feels like there are so many people and organizations trying to work on pieces of this issue. It's trying to figure out how we come together and combine our efforts. And I don't know if anyone on the panel wants to speak to that, but it feels like this is a moment when we could. And I know that Boone County Family Services or Boone County Community Children's Services Board and some others are trying to do that work of bringing them together, but that feels like a kind of a challenge.
It is a challenge, trying to bring all these different groups together, but we got to start somewhere. And, if it's just one step at a time, but we need as many people as we can to help us get to that next point. We need more Vernas, we need more Jareds, we need more people like that to help us, to really make this difference. And I applaud the work that Jared does. I applaud Ricky, Trey, and Elijah. I applaud Verna for all the work that she does in the community. But we can make a difference, and I truly believe that. So.
I think it starts too with awareness and understanding that you yourself have, a personal responsibility to your community. So enlightening yourself on what's out there, but then also understanding that, we can all come together and do our own part. With these volunteer opportunities to, take advantage of that and definitely, get in where you fit in, so to speak, to be able to make these things happen. And then we can start to build coalitions and bring some of these resources together because people will be actively involved and engaged. So I think that's a part of it as well.
All right, we have a couple more core specific questions. So it seems like this is so successful as a one-on-one type of mentor relationship. How could this be expanded to other students who might not be athletes? And I know that, Jared, you mentioned some of your reasoning for focusing on this group in particular, and I know you can't do it all at once, but how could this be expanded to other students?
Well, I'll say one for sure. Sometimes the athlete thing is kind of a hang up for some folks. And while we do specifically work with athletes, there are some guys who come to core who maybe aren't an athlete, or their sport is basketball and they don't make the team, or they aren't able to participate in sports for whatever reason anymore. And those guys still come. And that's where you get that relationship piece that Trey really hit on earlier of, well, just because you don't play sports anymore doesn't mean you can't come here anymore. It's like you wouldn't do that to a family member. And that's kind of the vibe that we get these days, is it's the family. So, I mean, you're still here, you're still hanging out, you're still taking part in what we're doing. But to be honest, it's hard to say, because in my mind, I think it's just so simple. It's the relationships. And it sounds corny, but it's true. I mean, it's that whole quote from, I think, Tony Dungy, a football coach, who said, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I think that's been maybe attributed to different people, but the quote is still true. It doesn't matter what you know until someone knows you. And so whether that's, I mean, a lot of what we do can be replicated, I think, in other ways. While we work with athletes specifically, the things that we do is not foreign to other people and other kids. So we don't just focus on guys getting an athletic scholarship. Another thing that we really hit on is you're going to play football or basketball in college 4 years max. What are you going to do for 40 years after? Like, are you going to be the guy that was famous at Mizzou for 2 years and then did nothing? Or are you going to work hard to get a degree and, potentially change the trajectory of your family tree? That's the big thing we want to hit on is you want to be different, but you don't know how. So how do we help you figure out how to be different? What are the steps? What are the goals? What do we do to approach that dream and that success? And so, whether that's career planning, that's college visits, that's figuring out, what are you interested in? Here's some career center classes you can take. Oh, you don't want to play sports in college anymore? Great. Let's stop focusing on NCAA eligibility and let's focus on trade school, on just a 4-year university, on, an associate's degree. Do you want to get into welding? Do you want to get into construction and contracting, EMT? We've got plenty of guys that have graduated from core that one of them's in paramedic school right now, works part-time at Goodwill. One of them is just getting his journalism degree at Mizzou because he didn't want to play football anymore. And so a lot of the things that we're doing stems from the relationship, because of the relationship that we build with these guys. Because we're not just with them after school or after practice until 10:30 and that's it. Typically a schedule for core, they're here in a normal school year, they're here after school or after practice until around 10 o'clock, and then we take them home. And that's it. And then that's not when it stops though. We take them home in our cars. We, we're about to hit up Pancheros when this is over because these guys deserve something. They'll come up on a day when there's no school and play Madden on the Xbox, and we'll hang out, or we'll have Connect 4 tournaments. We'll have big board game tournaments, different stuff like that, because our relationship is not just centered around academics and athletics. That's kind of the three like parts of the wheel. You've got athletics, academics, and then the relationship piece. So if you come to core just for the academics, core is just going to be a brick and mortar building where you get your homework done. And I don't want to do that. That's boring. They don't show up to core to do math homework. They show up to core because of the people that are here and because of the environment that it is and the culture that we've created and cultivated. While they're here, they also do math homework because they feel comfortable here. They'll kick their shoes off. They'll sit on the couch, play the game for a little bit, get some food, and then they'll work on their math homework, right? We'll be emailing their teachers, helping them figure out how to get caught up or how to get better score on the next test. But then there's also the athletic support of me coaching them. I'm with them all the time on the sideline, in the weight room, to and from sports practices, and then going to the basketball games, just different stuff like that, being around them on the athletic side. And then, taking them to college visits, taking them to meet with coaches and recruiters, helping them figure out how to decide what their ACT super score needs to be eligible for the NCAA. Different things like that. And then you've got the relational aspect that kind of is the holistic side of kid needs a haircut, needs a ride. Great. Let's go get your haircut and grab some lunch afterwards. But all of this stuff stems from relationships. So I think it's honestly, I don't want to say it's easy because none of this has been easy, and it's not, but it's worth it. And so I think that being able to consider what are the things that need to be addressed, or what are the things that maybe a student who's a non-athlete shares with an athlete, because I think there's a lot more similar than people think. And then how do we cross that bridge, right? How do we help those students be successful? What is it they want to do? This is what you want to do. All right, great. Let's get a roadmap. Let's get a blueprint together and figure out how you do it, because you can.
Thank you. And people had some questions about goal setting and so on. So I think you answered those questions. Verna, did you want to make a comment?
Jared, I could just kiss you, boy.
No, but we can't do that.
The mother in me just wants to reach out and hug you. Yes. But let me tell you, Jared, it was people like you. I grew up in the inner city of Peoria, Illinois, in the housing projects of Taft Homes and Warner Homes. I was one of those wild little girls that wasn't supposed to amount to anything. Every mistake that could be made, I made it. But there were Miss Johnson, there was Mr. Ray at the community center. I mean, there were people that poured into me, saw value in me, and talent and gifts. I had, at church, I was on the, there was a speech team, and competitions because I had adults that took the time to invest in my life and plant seed that you're seeing the fruits of in this community today because of people like Jared. I was 15 when I became a mother. What kind of mother can I be at 15? I made so many mistakes. I've had a juvenile officer. My mother had to come get me out of jail one time. That's why I take care of my mother today. You know, you see this nice, cultured lady in the community doing all these wonderful things. I used to be a bad little girl, a troubled teenager, a mother's nightmare. That's who I was until people like Jared came and invested in me and touched my life in ways that transformed me. And all these young people have so many needs, and so many people have excuses for not doing nothing. Come on, Columbia, let's get with the program. You've got the magic. Share it with these young people. Share in our community. Stop sitting on the sidelines and dive in. It's time to heal our community, and we can't do it sitting on the couch eating Lay's potato chips.
Amen. So I want to get some recommendations from folks. You've been seeing these organizations go by. It seems like the one-on-one mentor relationship or just building relationships with youth is something that can really make a difference. And so what are the organizations, Joanne, DeAndre, that you would recommend? Can other people get involved in CORE, or is Big Brothers Big Sisters? What are the organizations that people can, if they want to be a mentor for a young person, what organizations would you steer them toward?
I'll let Jared discuss CORE, but we do have Big Brothers Big Sisters. They are always looking for youth. Anybody, youth mentors, anybody who can help youth. We also have the Presbyterian Children's Home. They also have a therapeutic mentoring group that is always looking for mentors. It just popped up on the screen now. So it's important, we have the email contact and the phone number, but there's other programs too, I believe, that's on this list where you can volunteer. And I'll let Jared speak to CORE volunteers.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the kind words, Ms. LeBoy. That was very, very kind. I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said. I will say, as far as volunteering with CORE, a lot of things that we really consistently need are help with transportation. We essentially drive them everywhere in our cars, which is kind of part of the, again, relational aspect and the family kind of vibe that we've got, is that when you've got only 4 or 5 guys in your car, you can have better conversations that way. You can stop by Sonic or something on the way home. You can do whatever when taking them home. But that's one thing that we always kind of need help with, maybe a little extra help with rides. And there's different things that fall into that, whether it's, we can give you a gas card every now and then, or you just show up to the building and you can hang out for a while and be that relational volunteer as well, and get to know the guys. And then whenever guys are ready, we can say, hey, we've got 4 guys that need to go home, and we kind of route them together in the same area so that you're not, driving all over town like we typically are. But a couple of other options are obviously tutoring and mentoring. So tutoring, if you have any kind of specific subject that you're good with or that you feel comfortable tutoring with or helping with projects or subjects, or sometimes reteaching things, to be honest, that's always a help. Science and math are a pretty big one, but essentially what it looks like is you show up to the building kind of on your time, but typically around 6:30 or 7 is when volunteers usually show up, tutors, and we'll have dinner. You can eat with us if you want, but then after that we just kind of break up into different rooms and go at it. We've got a couple smart boards that we've got, and a ton of supplies, and students just kind of break out with their laptops, and if they need help, they've got tutors to help them, and if they don't, then they do their homework. But tutoring is a big thing, and that's how it typically goes in a normal school year. I will say that last semester was really rough because obviously COVID put students at school or at home all day. So we were luckily able to, because of our lifestyle of working at CORE, we could switch our structure. So we were actually here from about 8:30 or 8:45 in the morning until 4 in the evening. So we were here all day with them during school. They were able to Zoom, have lunch. But unfortunately, we had a lot of volunteers that weren't able to show up because they have jobs and they work during the day. And so on Wednesdays is typically when we're here in the afternoon, because teachers have Zoom office hours during that time, so we can hang out with them, be relational, and also get some work done and get caught up. But so we're back to a normal schedule somewhat, with school being during the day and then being here at night. So I'm rambling, but volunteering, yes, you can go to the website, corecolumbia.org. There's a ton of information there, but also tutoring and mentoring is a big thing. And then if you ever want to be kind of just a relational person, we definitely have had people before that have shown up, and their whole role as a volunteer at Core is to show up and hang out during dinner and play Madden with them on the Xbox and just talk. I mean, we've had one guy who was a former counselor, and he showed up, and honestly, I remember watching him play Madden with a kid for about 30 minutes. And by the end of it, the kid was in tears, and they were just talking about life, and that's, again, a relational aspect of what we're doing here. And so, yeah, that's a lot of information, but tutoring, mentoring, playing Xbox. If you like athletes and you like school, come hang out.
That's wonderful. Does the core program provide internships for the participants? I mean, you talked a lot about goal setting and making blueprints and paths, but are there internship opportunities?
So I'm wondering if that question is directed specifically towards a core student being an intern at Core. That's kind of what it sounds like. So I would know. We don't do that. I don't think that's ever really been considered. So I don't really have an answer for why. But yeah, no, it wouldn't be. I think because it's all just so directly related to everything we do, and everything we get goes back to them. So I just think that would be, I'm not sure how that would work or what that would look like logistically. We do have, again, where we talk about outside connections, connections sounds kind of lame, but with the partnerships, I guess is what we should say, have been able to help get guys into internship positions, or help them network and figure out ways to go for internships. Mm-hmm.
Is the Minority Men's Network involved at all?
It is not. I could misspeak here. So either it was Minority Men's Network, or it might have been an organization or a group that was similar in name. But we have been contacted by somebody recently. Our operations director just told us that in our staff meeting today through the website. But no, I have not met with anybody from the Minority Men's.
Maybe we made that connection tonight. So
reach out. Yep,
yeah,
let's talk.
Well, Steve Calloway from the Minority Men's Network, he had to leave. He said he had to jump off, but he was here tonight. He heard all about you. So I'm hoping that there will be a connection with that organization with these young men. I'll follow up.
I will too, Ms. Verna. I'm actually a newly member for the Minority Men's Network, so I'll be sure to pass that information along as well. I do think that's a valuable asset in terms of partnership and collaboration. So,
all right. Do we have any other questions? We've had lots of comments, positive comments about the program, about all of the information that you have shared. I did want to let people know we've had some questions about the links that I posted in the chat. If I could send those out afterwards, and I certainly can share those in the follow-up email to all participants after this program. I'm glad to do it. Any final thoughts from our students who are with us tonight? Anything you've got the ear of Columbia, anything you'd like to say about how we can help our youth? Putting you on the spot. Trey, how about you? Do you have any final thoughts you want to say?
Probably another thing to help the community is just building the relationships, because I think that's what makes Core so successful. And that's what just builds the brother, is just the relationships with the mentors, like other people, just the people that we hang with, just we're just all into it. So like this, I don't know, this is just my second home. This is just my life. Like core is my life. So just relationships with other people. Just, I don't know, that's important.
Thank you. I think we'll let you have the last word there. So relationships, you all heard that. We need to build more relationships in our community. I really want to thank all of our participants tonight, both our speakers and our attendees, for taking the time to think about and talk about this important issue. Interrupting the school to prison pipeline and eliminating inequities in discipline and justice are things that can only be accomplished if we as individuals and organizations work together to root out our own biases and change systems and support our youth. So it can be a daunting task, but I feel encouraged and cheered on after tonight, and I hope that you do too. Our forums on this topic really just touch the tip of the iceberg, but I know that like I said, I feel personally empowered by this information, and there's a lot of opportunities to work in the community. So please take what you've learned tonight with you and volunteer, donate time, donate money, find someone to mentor. I really hope that you will do that. And we'll be sending out a survey to you by email to measure the impact of these forums and to plan for future events. And so look for that in your email. And now I'd like to turn things over to Marilyn McLeod, President of the League of Women Voters of Columbia-Boone County.
What she said. Lauren, that summed it up beautifully. Thank you so much. And thank you for serving as our moderator. You did a wonderful job, and thank everyone for your contributions. And Verna, I don't know if you remember this, but years ago when I worked at the public library, you came and spoke. I think it's almost 20 years ago, and I was so impressed by you. I always remembered you as being this wow person. So thank you for your contributions. Thanks to our students for taking the time tonight. It was great to meet you this way, even if it is only virtually. And we wish you the best. I think you will really be successful. And this sounds like a wonderful program. Thank you, Jared, for your contributions, and Joanne and DeAndre for your contributions. So I hope I got everybody. You were wonderful. We really appreciate it. Just to let you know that March 10th is the deadline for registering to vote. So the young gentlemen, if you are going to be 18, or if you're at least 17 and a half, you can register to vote. So if you need information on that, we can provide it, or I'm sure at the school, someone can provide that to you, or can go on to the Boone County clerk site. Some upcoming things to share with you on Tuesday, March 9th, we're going to have our monthly lunch and learn with the library, and it's at noon, and the speaker will be the Columbia Police Chief Jones. And then, because an election is coming up, speaking of elections, on April 6th, we are going to have 2 candidate forums co-sponsored with the library. On Tuesday, March 16th at 7, we'll have candidates for City Council, Wards 2 and 6. And on Tuesday, March 23rd at 7, we'll have candidates for the school board and for Missouri State Representative District 45. So thank you all for coming, and thank you for our attendees. This was great and very inspiring, and we can move forward together. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Stay safe.
Have a good night. Stay warm.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Trey, Ricky.
Thank you.
Elijah, thank you. Thank you,
Hey,
Jared,
Ricky,
Verna,
Elijah,
DeAndre, Joanne.
Jared. Okay.
Appreciate
Bye.
you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.